Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our longer show where we go over some of the biggest and best books that are coming out this week. So while you're watching this, head over to infinityflux.net and you can buy these books as we're talking about them while supplies last, so you don't miss out on any of them, because you never know which ones are going to go. It's super fast. We've seen that the past few weeks. So we're here to let you know about what comes out, but then it's up to you to make the call.
Yeah, very nice. Very well done.
Answer the call.
Yeah.
If only I had that actually all written out and I could
Yeah.
repeat that every time, it'd be great.
Well, we can go back and watch it over and over and write
practice
it
it.
down. Yeah, for sure.
I just turned my brain on autopilot and go. But we have some really good books this week, some really interesting ones. You can see right here. There's quite the smorgasbord of titles. For the young and old. So
for the young and definitely not for the young. Yeah.
But we'll let you start with a big flashback from a bygone era.
Yeah, we're going to start with Night Thrasher #1. Now, this is it's a new miniseries. I think it's going to be 5 issues, maybe 4 issues. This is not one of the retro series, and I only just picked up that term the other day. Like, I've always been saying, oh, it's a series that takes place back in the 90s.
Yeah, do they have? Is that an official title?
Well, they're doing a new Venom Separation Anxiety that's set back then, and they called it a retro series. I'm like, that's a great name for it.
Cool.
So, but this is not that. So you would think that, oh, a Night Thrasher series, it's set back in the 90s around when he was with the New Warriors, but no, this is set present day Marvel, present day everything. And it's written by Jay Holtham. The art is by Nelson Daniel. And in this, Dwayne Taylor, who is Night Thrasher, actually returns to New York. He's been gone he said he's been in LA for a bit. I think he said I want to say there was a part where he said he's been in Madripoor for a little bit, which there's been a lot of Madripoor activity in the books lately. But he comes back to attend the funeral of the father of his old teammate Silhouette. So she used to be one of the New Warriors. And while he's there, he decides to close the Taylor Foundation, which is his company, basically. He says that the company should have died when he did, and he actually died back in Stamford. Remember when the New Warriors, like, they blew up? That was what caused Civil War in the first place.
Yeah.
He actually died in that big explosion, but he came back during the 2015 Contest of Champions series. And so he said, well, I should be dead still, and the company should have died with me. So he's going to close the company down. Of course, the board and everybody doesn't want him to do that. But one day he's out in the street, and he witnesses a group of children commit like a smash and grab robbery. They run in a place, they smash up, they steal some jewelry, I think. And the police actually tell him that it's been happening a lot lately. And so he decides to put on his Night Thrasher gear, and he goes to sort of investigate, why are these kids doing this? And he tracks them down to their hideout, basically. And he comes face to face with their leader, who is a big guy named the OG, a big new villain named the OG. But we do find out who the OG is in this issue, and Night Thrasher instantly recognizes him, and maybe you will too, or maybe you won't. I'm not sure. But after that encounter, Night Thrasher decides to hang around in New York a little bit to deal with this new villain and these kids that are committing all these robberies and stuff like that. So just a really cool street level news story with Night Thrasher. It's been forever since we've had one. And next issue is going to get a new suit, so that's going to be pretty cool. So if you're a big Night Thrasher fan like I am, I love Night Thrasher in the 90s. It was awesome. So yeah, there's a whole new series featuring him, and it's good. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this really nice.
I like this one.
Yeah, this Mark Bagley variant cover to go with it. That's my early teenage years right there. That's my formative years. I love that.
So who would you say this book is for? Is it for people who are like long time, they know Night Thrasher and the New Warriors and stuff? Is this good for new readers?
Yeah, if you're curious as to who Night Thrasher is, yeah, you can definitely pick it up, because it doesn't really depend on you having a lot of old school Night Thrasher knowledge. But I think the people they made it for are guys like me who was reading Night Thrasher, New Warriors, and stuff in the early '90s, and they haven't been around a long time, and now we get to see them again.
Yeah, it's always cool. There's so many characters now that they can do new things with.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I hope he sticks around after this. Like, I'd love to see him
Yeah.
be on some other team or something.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay, next up, we've got Penthouse Comics #1. So, there's a lot to say about this. I already know what everybody's thinking, what kind of book this is. But I would say the best description of this is a comic for adults.
Yes.
This is a comic for adults in a bunch of different ways. So this is really cool. If you're familiar with books like Heavy Metal that are this magazine size, kind of anthology like collections with a few articles in them and everything, that's what you have here. You've got some really big names working on this, and like this is a Matteo Scalera cover here. The first story in this, because it is comics, there is quite a few comics in this. Is called The Dream, and it is by Jean Defoe with art by Gillum March, who I love his work on Batman. He's a fantastic artist, very watercolory style for this. But it's about like this man who gets a job offer from a very mysterious lady, but it seems like she's not telling him the whole truth about what the job is, and it could be very dangerous because this is when I say comics for adults, this is like espionage. This is kind of like a Tarantino. There's a Tarantino style grindhouse sort of story with two women who are on the run, kind of getting revenge for the people who've kind of been after them their whole lives, and for some very crazy different ways that they kind of infiltrate some areas is really cool. There's one called Miss October. I
That's
really
the cool
like
one.
this one.
Yeah.
This one very much has a couple of different styles to it, but if you know books like Gun Honey that came out, it's very like crime thriller where there is a killer that's going around and killing women, and then when the police get there, they find pictures, and he's written on there Miss January, Miss February. And so there's this killer, and there's this detective who's in charge of it. But this detective's daughter may be one of the previous victims of this killer that didn't fully, get rid of her, and now she is after this killer as well. So just some really cool stories. There's also a adaptation of I Spit on Your Grave, which has been a bunch of movies and everything by really great artists. There's also some, we joked about in the previous one, some great articles.
Yeah.
Like literally, there is and I'll get to it when I show on the variant covers. There is an article about AI art, which is, hits pretty close to home for me being an artist. Uh, and essentially, it's them saying one of our covers is AI and we didn't know it. So we are still putting it out so we can have this conversation about it. And they get the artist that did that, and they get some big names in the comic industry to talk about that as well. And the two different sides discussing it. And it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know I'd get this discussion in this. Plus, there is a photo shoot in the back of it for what it's worth. But
and it's for adults. It is not for kids.
I thought this was a really interesting and kind of innovative book that had a lot of cool styles to it and stuff that you would maybe find in a book like a Heavy Metal or whatever. But if you like mature stories in every different way, is some are more dialogue heavy with the espionage and detectives and all of that. Like you get all those different styles. So I suggest picking this up if you're over 18 and everything. But I'm excited about new companies coming into the area and some new different storytelling methods.
And we will say too, though, just to let you know that every story does have adult situations that you definitely don't want to let kids read. So it's a fantastic book, and the stories are awesome, but it is definitely for adults.
Yeah, definitely for adults. But it's not. It's not exploitative.
It's not like super graphic or anything like that. It's tastefully done.
Tastefully done. So this is our A cover by Scalera, which I love his art.
Yeah, I like that one.
We also have it does say the names on the back, and so this is a $9.99 book. But like I said, you get like 5 or 6 stories in it, and different.
Plus, they're big magazine size.
Yeah, this is the Birnison variant. We also have this is the Aspinall. This is the Aspinall variant. And then this is the AI cover that they actually, the whole discussion is about this, how they didn't know this was, and they went back to the artist or the programmer or whatever you want to call them that did it and was like, hey, you know, we thought we were getting like handmade art.
Yeah.
And they pretty much print his letter back to them in here and then talk to creators like Marguerite Sauvage, Sway is in here talking about it. So very, very interesting discussion in that one.
And yeah, when you see that too, and you say, "Why is this comic book using an AI cover?" They acknowledge it though.
They acknowledge it, and it's a
that
very because that's why I was like, I can tell this is AI. And then I read the articles like, I'm now very interested in this discussion they're having. This one is the one that's this is the Samelin cover. It kind of shows you this is the
Miss October.
Miss October is what that one looks like. It's very cool. And then of course we've got there. I think there's two polybagged covers.
Yeah, and real quick too, if you'll grab that one again, if you're so there's different covers that are polybag, but they're all this same polybag, same symbol, same color,
Yeah.
and everything. So if you're looking for a specific color cover that is polybag, you may need to ask your store. We have ours labeled, you can see here, but we have
Yeah.
another one that says like cover G or something like that.
There
But
is an AR code on there. I wonder if you scan that if it shows you which one it
maybe
is.
we'll have to check that later. But yeah, I just want to let you know that maybe they could have made the polybags a different color or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I want the red one or the blue one, but they all look like that. So check with your store if so you don't get the wrong one.
We also have this 1 in 10 Maria Lovett cover. Like if you're a fan of Crave right now, you've got that for $25. We also have this Gillum March cover. This is the 1 in 25. We're selling for $50. That's what the interior of his story looks like.
Mhm.
So it is beautiful. I feel like they all have a very like crime noir
Yeah.
feel to them. And this is the limited to 1,000 copies version that we're selling for $50. That's the photo shoot cover.
Yep.
But limited to 1,000 copies, so there's not that many of them. I'd say probably not too many more than like 999.
Yeah, it's probably there's probably that one plus $9.99 more.
Yeah, if I was to wager a guess.
If I had to guess. Yeah, you mentioned the comparison to heavy metal. And it is a lot like that, anthology and everything. A little less heavy on the sci-fi like heavy metal is, but it's still the same type of
format
book.
wise.
Yeah.
It feels a lot like that.
And those stories are they all continued in the next
It
one?
looks like most of them are to be continued. So you're actually going to get maybe some longer form narratives, which is cool.
Yeah. All right, so next for me is a new #1 from Image called The Infernals. We talked about this on Comics from the Future a while back. This is written by Noah Gardner and Ryan Parrott, and the art is by John J. Pearson and Lola Bonato. And I really like this one. This is about Abraham Morgenstern, who is the son of the devil, literally. They show him being born, and then the devil comes to take him. But now he's the head of a criminal empire, and he's an old dying man. He has like a month left to live. So there's a lot going on in this guy's life. He also has 3 children, Nero, Jackal, and Baphomet, they're all pretty terrible in their own right. They all have their own different personalities and their own things going, because they're adults, children, 20s or whatever. So they all have their own thing going on, and he has to figure out which of those kids he is going to name to be the heir of his empire, to run. Heir to the Empire.
Heir to the
Yeah,
Empire.
I didn't
It's
mean
not
to,
a Star Wars tie-in.
but he has to figure out which one of the kids are going to run his criminal empire. And now most of this issue is just introducing us to the 3 kids and to Abraham's situation and things like that. But at the end, and don't worry, this isn't a spoiler, at the end of the issue, he does get all of his kids together. He tells them about his condition because they didn't know that he was dying in the first place. And he says that he has a job for them, but we don't know what that is yet. So I feel like, this is like an introductory issue, and then the real meat and potatoes of the story is going to get started next issue. And we do see something very interesting at the end, like on the last 2 pages. I won't tell you what it is, but it looks like it's going to add an extra layer of complexity to the story. But yeah, he's we meet his kids. He's going to pick one of them after they do this mission so that he can figure out which one is the right one to lead his empire. Although the solicitation did say that he has to pick one of his kids, but maybe there's more to it than just...
He's testing them.
Yeah, exactly. So more to come. We still have a lot of questions after this, but I thought it was really good. It was really interesting. The kids are they're especially Nero. They're not likable. You know, it's not like, oh, they're the son of the devil, but with a heart of gold. Nothing like that. So
That's a pitch for a new.
yeah, it's not like I think of like the Lucifer TV series.
Yeah.
And it's nothing like that. So I really like the brand new. This is I don't have I think it's maybe a 5-issue miniseries. But yeah, if you wanted to check that out, the first issue was out this week. So there's our A cover right there. We have a couple of variants. This is the oh shoot, the Alex Cormack variant. That's your B cover right there. And then we have this 1 in 15 Ward variant, Christian Ward variant that we're selling for $15.
Christian Ward is pumping out the
yeah,
covers.
he's everywhere.
You got another one of his books to talk about later.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So next up for me is a new #1 from DC. It's Sinister Sons. I feel like we've known about this for a while.
Oh yeah.
It's been building. But this is really cool. So this is a mini series by Peter J. Tomasi and David LaFuente. And you've seen a bit of these characters in different things. So I believe Sin Sun was in the backups of Green Lantern for a little while.
Yep.
And then Lor Zod, we saw like the beginning of his story in Kneel Before Zod #1, which is funny because those are by different writers. I don't think it was Tomasi writing the. I think he was writing the Green Lantern.
Yeah, I think so.
Story.
I think he was. Yeah.
But that's kind of the beginning point of these. You can still read this without reading those, but it's interesting they kind of set these characters up. So we have Sin Sun, who is the one that kind of looks like a little Sinestro, and he actually seems like the nicer of the kids. Like he's kind of rascally and stuff. I got a lot of like Little Rascals vibes from this because he believes in his heart that he is the son of Sinestro. Like
he does kind of have the alfalfa hair.
He does
a little bit.
He believes, he looks up to Sinestro. He wants to be Sinestro, and he wants to prove that Sinestro is his real father. We even see him in the very beginning creating like a dart gun that is going to extract blood. He's like, so I can get Sinestro's blood to prove that I'm his son. But he's such like a fan of Sinestro that he's even started to create his. He initially calls it like the Sin Sun Corps, but then he ends up calling it like the Young Sinestro Corps or something like that. And he's kind of a street urchin type kid. Like he lives. It seems like it's not on Earth. It's on another planet, and it's kind of their sewer or kind of back alleys and kind of thing. And he has other kids there that he considers like his core members.
Nice.
But they're not really into it as much as he is. But it's really cute to be like, he's like, you impressed me. And so he paints a big S on his chest. He's like, you've been promoted in the Sin Sun Corps and stuff like that. And they're like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
It's really cute, but his, you can really see his like desire to be something more. Meanwhile, we see Lor Zod, who has just been banished from New Krypton in Kneel Before Zod #1. And he's very upset about this because there was something in that. I won't give it away if you haven't read that, but General Zod has something on New Krypton that Lor Zod feels like he should have been made aware of and kind of should be his birthright. And Zod is pretty much like, no, like you have to earn it. That made Lor Zod upset, so he ends up getting banished. And he is on like a crystalline Kryptonian ship flying through space, and he's going to prove that he is worthy of being a Zod. So you have both of these characters that are kind of wanting to be something more. But his crystal ship does take him to the planet where Sin Sun is, where they will have a meeting where Sin Sun sees the Kryptonian ship and says, that ship could probably take me to go find Sinestro. And so there's a couple of crystal ship hijacks and all of that kind of thing. It's really fun, though. It's really light. It's very cartoony in the style. It's not like this cover. It's a lot more cartoony and exaggerated and stuff. Like when Lor Zod is in his ship sleeping, he's got like a snot bubble, like old animes did and stuff. It was very like Vegeta in his Saiyan escape pod and stuff like that. But I thought it was really fun. It sets up these new characters, and I hope we get some bonding moments because right now they're kind of both little snots. But at some point I hope we get some big redeeming qualities. I even like Sin Sun because he draws on a little Sinestro mustache with a marker. to be more like him. It's really cute, but I thought this was really fun, and I'm a big fan of Tomasi's writing. He's got great kind of family moments and character moments. So I think you'll really like this if you like kind of the younger like Young Justice. You know, if you read like a book with like Impulse or something,
Yeah.
it's very much like that. So this is our A cover. And then I think there's a few variants, but the only one we have left, this is uh the acetate cover, which is really fun, and I believe you see them as like the two kids in a trench coat type thing when you move it back. So that one's really fun
They
as
fooled
well.
me. All right, so next for me is Vengeance of the Moon Knight #2. Just this next run of Jed McKay's Moon Knight. I will tell you that we do not find out who the new Moon Knight is in this issue, but we do see him do a lot of fighting with Moon Knight's pals, Hunter's Moon and Tigra and Reese and Soldier. Eight Ball's not there because the new Moon Knight like leveled him last issue, but it goes back and forth. The whole issue goes back and forth between those guys fighting, and then Tigra talking to Dr. Sturman about just her life and how she knows why this new Moon Knight is not Mark Spector come back from the dead. She talks a lot about that and their relationship and things like that. Um, Oh, and I will say that something. Okay, so the new Moon Knight, he showed up at the end of last issue, and he's like, "Get out of my house!
Yeah.
You guys are bad guys, and I got a lot of work to do." And so, he wants to get into the Midnight Mission, which actually does in this issue. But something interesting happens when he goes into the Midnight Mission. I'll just say that. And I was really surprised because we see this new Moon Knight do something that the other Moon Knight has never done before, or maybe a couple things. And I was like,
Shoot eye beams.
"What?" He no, he moons them.
Oh,
That's a
that's a big
superpower,
thing.
yeah. And it's blinding, no. But he does something, and I was like, I don't know what that is, or why he can do that, or anything like that. So it adds a little bit of complexity to just who is this guy? We have no idea. But Hunter's Moon and Tigra and Reese and Soldier and those guys, like they're trying to figure it out, and it's just really cool. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to say because the whole issue is just a lot of them fighting each other, but it was really cool. And with the addition of that weird little extra thing that he does, I don't know. I don't know what to think about who it might be. So
I think they're doing a good job because I mean, part of it's like, oh, I want to know who it is, but it's also the fun of it.
oh yeah,
Is kind of trying to figure it out.
yeah.
And I have a feeling it's going to be somebody recognizable to some extent. I don't think it's going to be a new character, just whole cloth, but we'll have to
Yeah,
see.
yeah. I don't think it's gonna be somebody new, but yeah, I'm not sure. So, but I will say it was really good though. I really like. I saw after I was done, I was like, wow, that was really good. Like, I want that next issue right now.
Yeah.
So I really liked it and just wanted to tell you about it. So there's our A cover right there, and we
I
have
like this one.
Yeah, this
I
really
love the
cool.
classic trade dress.
Yeah, the Marvel '97 variant. I just like that design for Moon Knight better than like the black with the white like panels and stuff. I
Yeah.
like this design for him. And then we have this 1 in 25 Mahanini variant that we're selling for $25. I like that one too. It's very widescreen. Yeah, that looks cool right there.
Okay, next up, I have. I mean, let's just we talk about a lot of comics, and there's certain comics that just make you excited to read the next issue, and that's Transformers. After all the comics we read, like I get excited about reading those comics. We put our list together of stuff we want to read, all of that. But there's a few that are just like, I can't wait to read that.
Yep.
And that's Transformers and a lot of the Energon stuff. We talk about it all the time.
Oh yeah, we're 5 issues in, and every issue literally just blows me away
Yeah.
every time. And this issue's no different. Every time it's just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that
you
is
can't
so cool.
wait to see what
Yeah.
what is going to happen in this, from story and art and everything. And after the huge thing in the last one where Optimus Prime had Megatron's arm and hooks it on, it's going to be crazy. So this one is really cool. We were talking before. This series is a big kind of tug of war match between the Autobots and the Decepticons, where they're trying to revive a lot of their fallen members and siphoning off the little bit of energon that different bots have and trying to make new ones so they can either attack or defend themselves, all of that. Well, something happens in here where the Autobots may have a way without Energon to kind of rejuvenate some of their members. But Decepticons, Starscream is making a constant attack. It feels like he's probably attacking every 15
Yeah,
minutes.
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting, and he's exhausting, and I see why Megatron slapped him around a little bit. But it's really cool. You get some new characters in this, some kind of surprise characters. I don't want to say who they are from both sides, but we do get, the Autobots do get to a place where they feel like we need to make a move on the Ark. That's kind of where the Decepticons have kind of set up base, and I feel like they've got a little more tech there and everything. And the Autobots feel like we have enough now that we can make a move for it. But the Decepticons have another trick, and it's a very surprising one. One that at first it's like, how did they manage that? But it's very cool, and we'll be seeing a lot more of that in the next issue. But just another phenomenal issue. There's great character moments in this as well, like Optimus kind of having a heart to heart with Sparky. That's really nice about
about war,
and Sparky being like, "You're from outer space. Is it any different?" And Optimus is like, "I've been all over this galaxy, and when I look in the mirror, all I see is the thing that's causing the war." And so it's like, oh my gosh, like this is classic Optimus being like the most pure-hearted, everything. So good. But can't recommend this enough. We've got some really good variants for this. So we have a Stoko variant. Very cool. We've got a 1 in 10 Arosina variant that we're selling for $12. There was Soundwave. We've got a 1 in 25 Bustos variant that we're selling for $20 with Cliff Jumper. And also in this, nobody's safe. If you think a character's safe, if they're like, oh, they're too big of a character.
Yeah.
No, they might, it's like the most Walking Dead part of this is like, don't get attached to anybody because anything can happen. And then I just think this is the coolest cover. This is the 1 in 50 Kerschel variant that we're selling for $50 there with Optimus with his new arm that he does use, and it is devastating.
Yeah.
At point blank, it takes up like half the page of just the blast coming out of it. So
your classic traditional Daniel Warren Johnson, big action, big art, big sound effects.
Big sound effects, yeah.
I read that. Oh gosh, I mean, it was just every page turn. I was like, oh wow.
I know you posted like immediately. You're like, look at this.
Yeah.
Read this book. It's amazing.
Yeah. Holy cow, it was awesome. All right, so next for me is which one is next? Creepshow. Joe Hill's Wolverton Station. Now, for those who are familiar with Creepshow, normally they are they're anthology books. Every book has 2 separate stories on them. This is a one shot that only has just the one story in
like
it.
An annual or something.
Yeah, you think of it like an annual. So it's just the one story, written by Joe Hill and Jason Chiaramella, and then the artist by Michael Wash, who is your Silver Coin. I just always associate him with Silver Coin. I love the Silver Coin. So this looks like a lot of Silver Coin books. And this is about a guy named Saunders. He's this rich American guy who's obsessed with classic horror memorabilia, but he's also a big jerk. And he always lowballs everybody that he buys this memorabilia from. He always lowballs them. He's like, because of this conditioning, it's not worth what you think it is. And they're like, oh, we had it appraised. He's like, nah, it doesn't matter. So he's
like the worst.
Yeah, so he's a rich guy, but he's super cheap. But he has an associate named Saul, who tells him about this silver wolf-headed cane from a classic werewolf movie, and then it's up for sale. But he has to go to England to get it. And he even says, he's like, look, you're not going to be able to lowball these guys. They know exactly what they have, and it's going to go quick. And Saunders is like, I'm on a plane right now. I'm going to England right now. But when he gets there, he gets on a train to go to Wolverton Station so that he can get to the next point that he's going. But as soon as he gets on the train, he notices that the train is full of werewolves. But it's not like out of control werewolves. Like they have clothes on and they're talking to him and everything. But they're also not nice werewolves too. So there's some pretty grisly things that go on this train. And so he starts to he's like a little bit unsure at first, but he realizes eventually, hey, this is full of werewolves. So he hurries to get off the train. But even when he gets off the train, there's just werewolves everywhere.
Oh
Like even
gosh.
off the train, and
He must stick out like a sore thumb, I
yeah,
guess.
and one of them says, "I can tell you're an American because all Americans smell like cheeseburgers." So
That's fair.
so he goes to England, and then he's surrounded by werewolves, and it's a creep show book, so maybe you can guess what happens next, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell you. But like I said, just a one shot, one and done story, and in traditional creep show fashion, and it's super good. So we have our A cover right here, and then we have this really nice Rodriguez variant, one of the werewolves on the train. And then we have this this 1 in 10 Wolf variant, and Wolf is the artist name that we're selling for
That
$15.
one's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a new number one, and I love when we have a new number one and I read it and I love it and I can recommend it wholeheartedly as kind of, hey, check this out. It's something new and something really interesting. And that is The Displaced. So this is a new title from Boom by Ed Brisson and Luca Castellanguida. And this is super interesting. I remember talking about it on our other show when it was up for order, and we had some questions about, oh, how did all this work? But let me tell you about this. So it takes place in a place called Oshawa, Ontario, and it does have kind of a cold open that I won't get into because I don't know if it's a spoiler, but it does play out later in the issue. But mostly we meet a couple of just very, I don't want to say average people, but just you're like, no one's superhuman or anything like that. So we meet a guy named Emmett. He's been out of high school for 15 years. That's kind of the thing you get. He's at a bar and he's talking to his friends. They're talking about, oh, remember that weird guy over there? Do you remember what his name was? All this stuff. But Emmett uh, kind of talks about like his life is like not great. It's just fine. But like his dad is in assisted living home, and he gets a call that's like he's like, oh, did my dad grab the nurse's butt again?
Mhm.
Type thing. But I'll get back to that. Then we cut over and we meet a mom named Gabby, and her husband wake up in the middle of the night. Their baby's crying. The husband goes and gets the baby and is like, sorry, I know I was supposed to grab diapers, but I forgot. And she's like, it's like 1 in the morning, but I'll go get them and stuff. But she's having a really hard time, raising a baby and, just the like how tired and everything. But what happens with Emmett is he gets a call that his father has had a stroke and is going to the hospital, and you have Gabby who has to go a little ways out and to go buy some diapers at a place that's still open. Well, while they're gone, they feel an earthquake, and turns out their entire city, all of Oshawa, Ontario, which is a fairly large place, has what appeared to be fallen into a sinkhole. It's a very like perfectly round. You can kind of get the idea on this cover, and there's no word from anyone in it. You can't see the bottom. It's so deep. So it makes the news, of course. There's reporters everywhere. They're making lists of like missing people. They pretty much assume like our families are gone because of this. But while they're in like this kind of shelter, like a gym at a school or something, uh, there's an old man talking to Emmett, and he's like, "This has happened before." And it's like, "No, it hasn't. Like I would have heard about this." He's like, "Oh yeah, it did." And he starts naming off cities, and Emmett's like, "I've never heard of these places." He's like, "Yep." And everyone will forget about this one as well,
Hmm.
and everyone will forget about all the people in there, and they'll forget about you and everyone involved with this town. It's happened before, so I'll leave it
So
at
these
that.
characters, they got far enough
They
out of
got far
town
enough away
that
from that.
okay, so they
Uh,
didn't get swallowed up in it.
no,
But okay.
but you even see reports about a girl was talking to her mom on the phone. I think it was Gabby was talking to, or she was talking to her husband's mom, and who was calling her constantly, like, "Do you have any updates?" All of this. She said. Then she called me and didn't remember who I was and didn't remember who he was and what's she doing to me, what kind of game. But you can already tell maybe the further out you are, the more you're already forgetting about this place.
Hmm.
And there's a big twist at the end that's like, oh, this is something bigger here than just like a sinkhole opened up. It's something either supernatural or sci-fi or something going on.
Sounds like a big conveyor belt where like a city falls in a hole and then another one comes in and then
Yeah. But yeah, just super interesting. A lot of character driven stuff, but with this backdrop of this big mystery. So there's still a lot I did not tell you that happens in this, but I highly recommend picking this up if you like a good indie series, a kind of a mystery, a little off, something's going on, kind of like an HBO type show.
Yeah.
Definitely pick this one up because I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who really enjoy this. So that is our A cover. We also have, this is the Declan Shalvey cover. Then we have this 1 in 10 Castellaneta variant, the black and white that we were selling for $8. And then we have a 1 per store Shalvey variant that we're selling for $8. I love
Yeah, that
a
one.
good new indie series.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about that on Comics from the Future. I was like, that sounds really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, I want to check that out. All right, so next for me is Blue Book 1947 #1. This is written by James Tynion. The art is by Michael Avon Oeming. So if you're familiar with the last Blue Book series, it's written by James Tynion. It's an anthology, kind of a spooky anthology series, but based on true events, based on real. So it's actually it's like nonfiction almost.
Yeah.
Actually, this is completely nonfiction. This is wait, yeah, it's nonfiction, right? Yeah, it's nonfiction. This is mainly about the rise of the idea of UFOs and UFO sightings and things like that. So it takes place in 1947. There's a man named Kenneth Arnold. He's flying his plane over Washington one day, when off in the distance he sees this glint of light in the sky, and as he gets closer, he notices these strange aircraft that he says are flying 3 times faster than any known aircraft could fly at the time. And so he goes and he talks to different newspapers and stuff, and the Chicago Sun decides to run his story, and that's where the term flying saucers comes from. Is what, because he said they were like very saucer in shape, and then just over time, more and more people start to report sightings of strange ships in the sky, and the idea was born that these flying saucers are extraterrestrial in origin, because even at the very beginning, Kenneth Arnold didn't really think anything about them being extraterrestrial.
Mm-hmm.
But the more and more sightings there were of these strange ships, that's how the idea sort of evolved into aliens basically. So this is it's done in a comic book style, in a fictional style, but the actual story and everything are real events of things that really happened.
True accounts.
Based on true accounts, yeah. So just really cool, just like the last series. I don't know if like they're all going to be set in 1947 or if this is a one shot.
Yeah,
like I'm not sure. I'm not too sure, but if you like the last series, you will definitely like this one. And the interior looks just like this. It's a lot of blue tints and Michael Avon Oeming on art, but it looks really good. So there's our A cover right there. Now we have this is a variant cover, but it doesn't look like it. But this the outline of the logo is foil, but it's just the outline of the logo, so it's not a whole lot different. But so you can see there, they look pretty much the same. We have this moon variant. And I said, that's what he sees, or that's the way it's drawn anyway. Is these like weird looking ships. This is our
alien.
Yeah, this is our Cully Hamner variant. We don't see any aliens in this one. This is our Mike Allred.
I love this one. It's very Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Here's our 1 in 10 Quinones variant that we're selling for $10. And then we have a 1 in 25 Christian Ward variant that we're selling for $25. Yeah, Christian Ward's all over the place.
And I have another new #1. We're keep the #1s rolling. This is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver #1. So this is like the previous Scarlet Witch series written by Steve Orlando. The art is by Lozino Temeda. And this is cool. You can jump right onto this one, but it definitely plays off the previous Scarlet Witch series and kind of what happened right at the end of the previous one. But in this, it starts off with just a fun opening where there is an alien spaceship crashing towards Earth, and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch have to, save everybody. But it's just a fun kind of opening to get some action going. But while all this is going, Darcy, who, had her MCU debut and now is in this title, discovered that during this craziness, something was dropped off on their front porch of Wanda's bookstore or curiosity store, and it's kind of a weird, almost looks like a octagonal box with no real hinges on it. It's kind of one of the things that like we know only like someone with magic could open
Mhm.
this type thing, and it's addressed to Pietro and Wanda. So, Pietro is kind of like, yeah, let's open it up. I want to see what it is, and but Wanda ends up opening it and discovers in it is a letter, and the letter is from their adoptive father, Magneto. But instead of Wanda reading it out loud or anything, she immediately burns it up. She like as she's holding it, turns into flames and disappears. And Pietro's like, "Why would you do that? It was addressed to both of us." And she's like, "Well, if you read on there what I just read, you would have also destroyed it before showing it to me." And of course, he's not happy with this. He's like, "It was addressed to both of us. You know, it's not like we both love Magneto. Like whatever he could say, it's not going to affect me anymore." But she kind of doubles down on this, and so this definitely drives a rift between the two. But uh, as they're kind of dealing with all this, someone seems to be targeting um, each of them, a third party. Maybe it has something to do with who delivered the box, because Wanda basically is like, I don't need to know like who sent this. I need to know who delivered this, because that's how I'm going to find my way back to the source. And so this other character that's targeting them may be associated with it, maybe not, but pretty interesting. Not a character you see very often, and definitely not one that interacts with these two. But I thought it was an interesting opening. You don't find out what the letter said. I can't imagine what it is, because at this point Magneto's dead. We're getting that resurrection of Magneto, so
Yeah.
I guess in a few weeks they could probably just ask him. But for right now, they all assume he's dead and everything. So very interesting opening. If you're reading the previous Scarlet Witch series, this will be an easy one just to move on over to and continue it. I love reading Quicksilver and something just because he hasn't been around much
Yeah.
lately. But this is also a good jumping on point. It does start a new story. So I thought it was really fun, and it felt a little oversized. I'm not sure if it is, but it felt a bit thicker. So that is our A cover for that, and we couldn't get through the show without a Scotty
Yeah.
Young cover. Very fun. We also have this Luciano Vecchio foil variant, which is
That
very
looks
cool.
really
Feels
good.
like a fighting game or
Yeah.
something. And then we have this 1 in 25 Yagawa variant that we're selling for $15.
Yeah, Quicksilver popped up a couple times in the previous Scarlet Witch miniseries, so now it's cool to see them all
His
together.
name on the marquee now.
Yeah. So next up for me is Green Lantern number 8. I continue to love this series. And in this one, Hal Jordan just keeps trying to leave the atmosphere, but he can't. The ring shuts down every time he gets close, and he plummets to Earth, and the ring comes back on. And it's always a close call. So he's like, I don't know what to do. So he goes to Madame Xanadu for help, thinking that there might be a magical solution, because his ring is different, right? It's not just
Yeah.
your typical Green Lantern ring. So there's something about this ring that just doesn't know about it. And even Madame Xanadu says she can tell that there's something with it. Um, so they're there working on his problem, but it's not long before three lanterns from the United Planets Lantern Corps show up, and they try to take him in for the illegal use of a lantern ring. They said this area is quarantined. You're not supposed to be using this ring. You got to come with us. And so naturally, Hal Jordan doesn't want to go with them, and then fisticuffs ensue. But while they're fighting, those three lanterns from the United Planets, they do something with their rings that shouldn't be possible. Like that Hal Jordan's never seen before. He's like he's like, how is that possible? And so he's got to get answers. And we know that there's going to be a lot more to come with these Green Lanterns from the United Planets. That's what the sort of the crux of this whole series has been so far, and there's more to come with that. And then there's also a backup story with Kyle Rayner. Kyle Rayner's back, and Joel Bolin, and she tells him that she thinks she knows what's really going on with the United Planets takeover of the Green Lantern Corps. So they're going to go off and try to deal with that. So I feel like we talked about this the other day, or maybe on Comics from the Future.
Yeah, we were talking about the next issue.
Yeah, so that backup story with Kyle Rayner does not continue into the next one. It's just kind of its own self-contained thing. The next one is going to feature Jessica Cruz. But I feel like that everything that's been going on with Hal Jordan, and then this little backup with Kyle Rayner, probably Jessica Cruz, like I feel like that's all going to come to a head at some point. Maybe they confront the United Planets or the United Planets Green Lanterns. Like I feel like it's all building to something, and it's very, very cool. I can't wait to see what it is. So really good. We have this A cover right here. We have this awesome. This is the cover that I pre-ordered. Usually I do A covers on DC books to save $1 here and there, but I could not pass up this Doc Shaner, Kyle Rayner cover. That is so cool. And they even use classic panels from his first appearance and everything. So I love that cover a bunch. Then we have this really cool De Silva sweater weather variant. All the Green Lanterns having fun there. And then we have this really nice 1 in 25 Barry Nuevo variant that we're selling for $25. He's playing baseball, yeah.
Alien baseball.
Yep.
It's not really fair that he makes a ball out of his construct because he can make it go wherever he wants. Yep. Like, sorry, it goes to the bat and just swoops around it.
Yep.
Okay, next up, I've got another #1. This is a big week for #1s. This is Red Hood the Hill #1. So this follows up last week's Red Hood the Hill #0, which was a reprint of some backup stories in various books. I don't remember which one it was. It kind of sets up this whole story with Red Hood moving to the Hill. So this is by Sean Martinborough, and the art is by Sanford Green. And in this, it does help if you had read the issue 0, just because they don't do a whole lot of introducing you to these new characters. We do get a flashback that is the night before Joker War starts, and it's in a diner, and our character who becomes Strike, Dana, is working in this place, and she's kind of, everyone's a little bit uneasy. They're like, do you think the Joker War is going to reach this far? Because the Hill's kind of an outskirts suburb of Gotham, and people are saying no, they're going to take care of it and everything, but people are still very uneasy, and we kind of see maybe an instigating act that's going to drive what she does later when she creates her team and becomes Strike and all of that. Back in the present day, Jason Todd has moved into the Hill. He's having a housewarming party, so we meet a lot of the kind of locals that I think we're going to see popping up, including Dana and some of her team members. She's got kind of a group that all don homemade costumes and go and defend the town. They're doing their best to fight the corruption that is going on in the Hill now, but it seems like when you get rid of one big bad guy, someone else takes their place, and one of those may be Black Mask's gang. So pretty interesting thing there. I thought this was good. It does help if you read the #0, because I read it last week, and I was like, that did make me feel like I had a leg up on reading this one. But if you're willing to kind of work through it and remember the characters and everything, it shouldn't be too hard for someone coming in new with just this one. And if you're just a big Red Hood fan, it's good to see him in a title with his name on it and everything. So that is Red Hood the Hill #1. And then we also have, this is the Tirso Khan's variant.
That's a good one.
Yep.
All right, so next for me is Superior Spider-Man #4. And this one, there's not a whole lot to say about this issue because most of the issue is Peter versus Doc Ock, but in Peter's mind. Because remember, we saw at the end of last issue, Doc Ock had Peter strapped to a chair, and he had the thing on his head, and he's like, I'm going to become the Superior Spider-Man again. And so now they are fighting inside Peter's mind for who is going to control Peter's mind and his body, right? Doc Ock wants to be Spider-Man again, and they're fighting, back and forth. I will say that there's an interesting callback to a plot point, though, from the end of the Spider-Verse storyline that I thought was interesting, but I won't say what it is, but it was pretty cool there. But yeah, it's just a lot of them going back and forth, and Peter's like, your typical. We've seen this before in comics where, normally you could beat me, but because we're in my mind, I control what happens here and that kind of stuff. So, but it's just cool to see Peter and Doc Ock fight. And I love this costume. I love seeing Peter in the Superior Spider-Man costume. I wish he would just keep that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good one. So that's our A cover right there. And I don't have any variants, so maybe we didn't get any, or maybe we've already filled pull boxes. But this is the only one I had to show you today.
Very cool. Next up, I've got Fall of the House of X #2. So I felt like I really liked the first issue of this. It was really setting up kind of this the X-Men and the mutants' last stand against Orcus, putting a lot of pieces in place. And this is, I felt like the beginning of some of those pieces going off. Like, okay, so you see on this cover, Polaris is there, and she is coming to attack Orcus with Nowhere the big space head. It's full of the Brood from the previous X-Men story arc where you had Brew, who now is kind of in charge of the Brood, and they're attacking Dr. Stasis's Bloom space station. So you've got that going on. You've got Wolverine, Colossus, and Nightcrawler who are attempting to rescue Firestar from kind of where she's been like a double agent inside of Orcus. You've got Juggernaut, who we saw in the last one, got one of Cable's big guns, and he's gonna go help save Krakoa. Krakoa got up and started running away, the giant island and stuff, which is kind of fun. So you've got Juggernaut fighting a bunch of Stark Sentinels. You've got Gambit and Rogue who have kind of a secret mission that's really cool. And finally, we see what is going to happen to Cyclops as he is essentially sitting there with a sword over his head. How does he get out of that situation? So a lot of the pieces that were set up previous issue are now kind of popping off one by one. Very interesting, but still, we've got a ways to go in the Fall of X to find out how really this is going to end up. But I thought this was a good issue. I like a lot of the characters involved with it. We've got a few of the variants. So we've got this beautiful Carlos Gomez. I think they're calling these like Goodbye Krakoa or Farewell Krakoa covers. Kate Pride on there. And then we have this Common Coley variant. I forgot what these are called. But
that's like a connecting cover.
They're a connecting cover, but I forgot what the like theme of them is. But you got Apocalypse on there, which is cool.
Wait, you mean where's Krakoa's going somewhere?
Yeah.
What?
He's hightailing out of here.
Yeah.
He took his little hat and he grabbed his suitcase. He's like, I'm getting out of here.
You guys are crazy.
There's like a puff of smoke as he shot across the ocean.
All right, so next up is Action Comics number 1062. Oh,
everything. You messed me up.
Oh man.
No, we're all good.
Yeah. Action Comics number 1062. This is part 2 of the Bizarro storyline, part 2 of the Superman Superstars, or the second issue of the Superman Superstars initiative that they're doing. Jason Aaron, John Timms, super cool. So as of the end of last issue, all of Metropolis has been turned into a Bizarro version of itself, and all the citizens have been turned into Bizarro versions. And it's really funny because they're doing it like there's so many examples, but a couple is like the firefighters are the ones starting the fires, and swim instructors are trying to drown their students, and just animal lovers are kicking their dogs, and just crazy things like that. Superman is the only one that hasn't been changed, but Bizarro is in his head, and it's everything Superman can do to keep him at bay, because we actually saw him at the end of last issue sort of turn into Bizarro, but he's actually able to sort of turn himself back, but he's still got Bizarro up here the whole time, and he's trying to keep him at bay. And the entire issue is just Superman trying to save people who don't want to be saved. He saves somebody, and they're like, "Oh, you saved me against my will," and I wanted to live, but because it's Bizarro, they mean I want to die, and that kind of thing. And it lasts for days. There's a part that says, several days later, and Superman hasn't slept, and he's starting to look a little bit ragged. He's the only one in the city trying to save everybody. And he even puts out some calls to some other heroes for help and things like that. And then, near the end, he turns to an unusual source for help, and I'll leave it at that. But it's very interesting. I can't wait to see what comes of that, and the person he reaches out to, like, what do they do? So, just another really good. The artwork's fantastic. Good action. I love the way, like, Jason Aaron seems to be really good at writing Bizarro. The way he writes the dialogue.
Writing exercise.
It is, yeah, because you have to figure out everything's the reverse, and he's talking to Bizarro Lois, and she's like, "Oh, let's get divorced all over again, but it's backwards,
Yeah.
So it's just all really good. So I loved it. It's been a really good story. So there's our A cover right there. We have this Jorge Jimenez variant, Superman sitting on the moon. We got this really nice Federici variant with Bizarro. Here is our Nicholas Draper Ivy Black History Month variant featuring Steel. And then we have this 1 in 25 Babs Tar variant that we're selling for $20.
Creepy. It's like he's a bat or something.
Yeah, it's like he's a Batman.
Bat Zorro.
Yeah.
Okay, next up I've got Amazing Spider-Man. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 43. This is, it feels like, should be the last part of Gang War, but I believe there's one more after this. Because this is where they were all lining up, both sides of all the crime organizations in Central Park. You've got a Beetle on one side, and you've got everybody else on the other side, and they're about to have this. The gang war is about to.
And they
take
all just
place.
start,
Yeah,
snapping.
they all do that. But and then Spider-Man and his team that he's had through the different miniseries and stuff come in, and this is just an all-out action issue where they're all just, you're seeing the little battles with so and so versus so and so and how all that's going. But it's just cool to see the different kind of matchups that
Yeah.
they pair together. But in the end, there is somebody who kind of makes a bigger move to be like, I'm going to be the new crime head of New York. You have to find out who it is, but it's kind of like they're doing it for a good reason. So, very interesting one there. But I think there's one more issue in Gang War that will tie all of this up. Got some variants for this. So we've got, of course, the Disney variant. They've been doing, these are very popular. We've got this Mason variant, which I think is really cool. The Thwip variant.
Yeah. I think that's the one I pre-ordered. I like that
Me
one.
too. And then we have the 1 in 25 Lupaccio variant that we're selling for $25 with Spider-Man and Beetle. Her old look, not her weird, like, black leather spiky look.
Yeah. Classic. All right, so next is Batman number 143. This is the Joker. This is part 2 of Joker Year 1. And I did not even realize that this Joker Year 1 story, it's only 3 parts, but it's weekly.
It's weekly,
yeah. Batman 142 came out last week. This comes out this week. 144 comes out next week. 145 comes out 2 weeks after that. And then it goes back to being monthly after that, I believe. So Joker Year 1, Part 2. And this one, just like the last issue, goes back and forth between sometime in the future, not like super far away, but like sometime in the near future, where the Joker has spread this virus over Gotham City, turning everyone into Jokers, basically. So it alternates between that and then Joker Year 1, the first year of Joker being the Joker. Now, most of the book is focused on Joker's first year, and he actually goes to train with Dr. Captio. I think I'm saying that right. Who we first saw in Batman the Night number 8, which was also written by Chip Zdarsky, and in that series was featured Bruce Wayne before he became Batman, traveling the globe looking for experts in various fields and learning from them so he can be the ultimate crime fighter. And I think maybe it's Capshaw. Dr. Capshaw was one of those. Bruce Wayne went to him in Batman the Night. He says, I've trained my body to perfection, but now I need to train my mind. So that's what Dr. Capshaw does. Well, now
so he gives him a crossword puzzle.
That's right. He does Sudoku. So now Joker goes to Dr. Capshaw and says, I want you to train me the same way. And he agrees to do it. Dr. Capshaw agrees to do it because he says that Batman is a force for order, and he wants to see what happens when a force for order meets an equal force of chaos. So he also helps Joker train his mind. And there's some interesting things that happen with that. And something that I think ties into the larger Zur and Awe storyline that they've been doing. So, more to come with that. But this one had a little bit, I found the last issue to be a little bit confusing. There wasn't really a lot of, Batman was barely in it, which is okay. But there wasn't a lot of action or anything. And I just couldn't quite tell what is going on. But this helps to solidify that picture a little bit more. And now with the way it ended, I'm very interested to see the next part. So I've been enjoying this story. Of course, it's only been 2 issues, but it's been great so far. So if you've been reading it, do not miss out because it is weekly. So there is our A cover right there. We got some cool variants. This is the Yasmin Putri variant featuring Joker there. This is the Steven Subic variant. Very creepy Joker there. And then this is the caked up variant by Kevin Wada.
Hot buns.
Yeah, he's Bruce with all the cake right there.
Wheat cake.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's why it's Aunt May's favorite.
So next up, I've got Darth Vader number 43. This one's good. It's just a continuation of the previous issue where Sly Moore is recruiting people to be in the Schism Empire, which is kind of this other kind of sect that is opposed to the Emperor and the way he's running things, and is finding people who, over the course of different times, have had some kind of conflict with the Empire and with Vader, but who are still part of the Empire. And they're not quite happy with the way things are going. But also, Darth Vader is making bigger moves towards defying the Emperor himself. So just an interesting issue there. And I want to also say, I didn't get a chance to read this as in-depth as I wanted to, but Star Wars High Republic Adventures number 3 came out, and I just really love this series, but I did not get a chance to read this one as much as I wanted to. But just don't forget that came out as well.
Any variants for those? Or?
Yes. Funny you should ask. So we have this really nice Ken Lashley Black History Month variant.
I love Ken Lashley stuff.
So awesome. Good. I'd love to see him on the interiors of a Darth Vader book or something.
That Wolverine Predator he did was awesome. Yeah. Holy cow.
And then these go pretty fast too. This is the Star Wars Rebels 10th anniversary variant with Ezra and Chopper. So there's that one as well.
All right, so just real quick, wanted to tell you about Daredevil Black Armor number 4 because this is the last issue of this miniseries. So if you've been reading it, don't miss this last issue. And you know, it's the last issue, so it's the final battle with Baron von Strucker and Sabretooth and Hobgoblin. So Daredevil's got to do that while he helps all of the prisoners escape underground and get back to the surface. And of course, that's easier said than done, and nothing goes perfectly. But just wanted to remind you that it's out this week, so don't miss the very end of this miniseries. And then we have this Dan Panosian variant to go with it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, my last one is Wolverine issue 43. So Wolverine 43. This is part 3 of the Sabretooth War, and so this goes back to like the Team X days in some flashbacks. There's a couple of flashbacks in it. That's the only time you see Wolverine in this. So I was kind of bummed that we didn't get to see more after what happened to Wolverine in the previous issue. His current state is pretty rough, but he's still just honey badgering it on, angry. But we don't see too much of that. Most of this is what happened in the past that may affect what is going on in the present with Sabretooth and Wolverine's history, all of that. Also, it's an incredibly brutal issue.
I was going to ask, is it as violent as the last one?
Especially there's something with X-23 that Sabretooth does, and he says that might take you a little bit longer to heal back from.
Okay.
But it's like, I don't think I've ever seen something like that in a Marvel comic. So just a little teaser there for some of the craziness you'll see. I'll have to show you after this. Because it was like, that's disturbing. We also have a variant for this. This is the Vatine variant, which is an homage to an Arthur Adams cover.
And I think that's 20, but we got one bonus book just real quick. Just want to let you know about Batman City of Madness number 3, that it's out this week because this is the final issue of this series as well. I can't really say too much about it because it is the final issue. It would spoil everything. But I will tell you that we learned the identity and the origin of the Batman below. Cool. So that's just sort of, we learn how he comes about and where he comes from, who he is, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, then the issue, and it just gets crazy from there. So if you've been reading it, do not miss the final or the finale this week. And we got a couple cool covers. That's our A cover right there. We have this Sienkiewicz. Thank you. We have this Sienkiewicz variant, which looks really cool and creepy. That's Two-Face. That's Two-Face, regular Two-Face, and then that's the Two-Face from below, and his Two-Face is the other way. I thought that was really cool. And then we have this 1 in 20. Whoops, we have this 1 in 25 Reynolds variant that we're selling for $25.
Well, very cool. A lot of good books this week. A reminder, as always, head over to infinityflux.net where you can order these books while supplies last. And that is the key there because they will not last forever. But some great stuff that you'll definitely want to pick up this week, whether you go online and shop with us online or you come to the store and pick it up here. We can't wait to see you, hear from you, all of that. Leave a emoji in the comments. Which one should it be?
What was the big one? Is there a skateboard emoji for Night Thrasher?
Yeah, leave something for Night Thrasher or make something out for Penthouse Comics. I'll let you decide what that's gonna be.
Be like
But
a peach or something.
yeah, Peach. So do that. Let us know you watched till the end of the video. Stay tuned for our show coming up on Wednesday. We'll be going over comics that you can pre-order by this weekend, give you a big head start in doing your ordering so you don't miss out. And until next time, see ya.